a few years ago, I read on Twitter, I'm following Joy Ito. He's a great entrepreneur, he's a pioneer of the web, so I follow him. And he wrote in a tweet that he became mayor of Osaka. I said, wow, what a career. I mean, and only some days after I understood that that was a sort of game. And I tried to understand what was all that about, and it was Foursquare. So, Naveen, he's co-founder of Foursquare, and they had really a strange idea. I mean, the idea of people saying where they are and playing with that and meeting and doing things together on that knowledge, shared knowledge. They are not alone, there are some others, ma la prima volta che ho sentito parlare di geolocalizzazione è stato quando è partito l'UMTS. L'inizio dell'UMTS era all'inizio degli anni 2000, la prima compagnia che ha messo giù una rete UMTS era la Telecom della isola di Man, e avevano detto che l'UMTS era particolare perché si poteva avere servizi di geolocalizzazione. Servizi di geolocalizzazione significavano che tu, diceva il capo della compagnia, potevi dare agli utenti il servizio, per esempio, di sapere dove era il pub più vicino dove passavi. Naturalmente tutti hanno riso perché tutte le persone che abitano nell'isola di Man sanno esattamente la localizzazione di tutti i pub e non hanno di questi problemi. In effetti l'UMTS non è andato molto avanti come geolocalizzazione, mentre Foursquare sì. What happened with Foursquare? It's an app, it's killing the web, it's creating a new future. What's Foursquare in your view?
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. So, as Luca mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders of Foursquare. We've been around since March of 2009, but these are ideas that we've been thinking about for a few years now. My buddy Dennis and I, my co-founder Dennis and I have been in the mobile space for a while. Dennis actually started a company called Dodgeball back in 2005, where some of these ideas took root, especially around location and check-ins and announcing presence. So when we started Foursquare, what we wanted to build was something that would help us get to know our cities better. So we both live in New York City, where there's an enormous number of things to do. There's always something new that's opened up around the corner from where you live or where you work. There's so much history in the city. I mean, no comparison to Rome, of course, but even in a 200-year-old city like New York, there's always something new to do and something new to learn. And we used to travel a lot as well. So we wanted a great way to capture all the things we wanted to go do. We wanted to let our friends know. We wanted to kind of cross off this to-do list of items that we'd always been wanting to do in life. We wanted something in our pockets, something mobile that would remind us, that would help us by learning from our friends and from learning from other things that we read. So these are some of the core ideas where Foursquare, this app that you know of now, came about. And along the way, we started introducing game theory or game mechanics on top of this layer. So, as I just mentioned, Foursquare is all about this presence, announcing where you are, learning about new places from your friends, sharing tips and recommendations. And on top of all that, we introduced this idea of a game. So, the concept of a mayor or the concept of badges and points. Because we wanted to use this theory, the game mechanics, to try to encourage one another at getting better and to try to one-up each other at going out to more places and trying more things than someone else. And we found over the last year and a half that that's really resonated with a lot of people. People really like the idea of games, and by going out to earn these things, by going out to earn fun badges, they're actually going and crossing off existing things in their life. So it's games as we know it. For hundreds of years we've known about board games and card games and all these other things. It's using a lot of those things and using mechanics from video games, for instance, and applying it to things that we already do in real life. So in the year and a half we've been around, I guess it's 18 months now since March of 2009, we're almost 3.5 million people. We are obviously available everywhere in the world, but most of the use, or most of the more active use, is in urban places where there's a lot more to discover and a lot more to do and a lot more travel. We're probably getting close to more, we started in the US, so we're probably a little more than 50% of the usage is in the US and 50% internationally. Asia and Europe being the two other bigger areas. We're seeing exciting growth and a lot of interest in this concept of going out and discovering. We just introduced the version 2 of our application yesterday, I believe, Monday. I haven't really slept, so I don't know. And version 2, again, brings this emphasis back to this discovery, the idea of a to-do list and carrying that around. So if you're reading something online, in a news magazine or something, or a review magazine somewhere else, you can basically take that review and you can remember it and you can add it to your Foursquare to-do list. So that when you're in the area, the idea is it will remind you to go do that thing that you read about. So I hope that's a good intro. Oh, and as far as the apps question.
Are you killing the web?
Yeah. So the app versus web question is really a kind of a confusing question, in my opinion. Because when you think of the web, it's obviously, when you think of it as a normal person, as a layperson, the web is basically everything that you can access online. It's content that's posted somewhere that you can go access it. When you think of the web technically, it's maybe the web is something you access on your computer at home, on a desktop, or at work, and mobile is everything else. But in reality, the web is this amorphous thing that's everything. It's a little bit of everything. It's just content that's out there in the cloud. In this middle space somewhere. And there are many different ways to access it. So one way to access it is from your desktop or from your work computer, and this is how we've known about it. Another way to access it is mobile. Ever since we started Foursquare, we started with mobile in mind because we knew that we were going to want to carry this around with us. We knew that the experience is completely driven by mobile. So almost all of our usage happens over mobile. And mobile is just one way of reaching this ecosystem of applications and web products and sites and everything like that. Mobile is just one way of reaching that content. And an application is just one way of reaching that. That's how I feel.
So the real contribution that you are creating is the link, not the killing of the web, in my opinion, but the linking of the digital opportunities and the territory. Right. The real network in which we live and walk. Right,
of the stuff that's already out there. And I think this is some of what Dina was getting at too. As you create companies these days, you're not creating a web company or a mobile company, you're creating more of a, whatever it may be, media company or a fashion company, but you're creating a platform where users can come and do something, get some value out of it. Maybe businesses or brands or fashion labels can come and get some value out of it. And these two people, these two sets of the users and the brands and the businesses have a central place to meet and do business. That's really what you're making. No matter what you're doing, at the very end of the day, you're basically making this platform for these two sides to come together. And the platform can exist on the web, it can exist on your phone, either as a mobile website, or it can exist as an app. These are all the many different ways. Or if your site has an API, you let others build upon this, and they build interesting applications or interesting websites or interesting platforms on top of your platform. So I guess that's the way I would think about it.
Yeah, there are some tweets around. They are asking if you fear what Google is doing with Latitude.
In terms of what? In terms of what the product is, or in terms of Foursquare?
In terms of Foursquare.
Yeah, I think again, as you mentioned earlier, there are a lot of different sites that are already doing something with location. There are a lot of different sites that are already doing something with reviews and travel advice and all these other things. The approach that we're bringing is a combination of a few different things. As I mentioned, the goal is to try to go and discover new elements and to share that kind of data and to share it in a mobile way, and primarily a mobile focus to it, and to make that very easy to do. We want to eventually buzz in your pocket or something like that, give you a little tip about a coffee shop to go see across the street, and then get out of your way. We want you to go and do something in the real world instead of sitting behind a computer. So that's it. It's a different approach we're bringing. There are obviously a lot of different players. Latitude is just one of the many components of what we're building. So Google Latitude, if you guys don't know, is just a system that passively tracks where you are and announces it to your friends. there's not much more beyond that. It's a very basic layer of what's potentially possible with that. There are many applications that track where you are. You've been able to do it for a while. But there's really no value in being able to know that. The value really comes from, being able to say, okay, there are more than 150 people here in the room right now. There's something going on. So what is that thing? So the value comes from all that other metadata that's on top of it. All the tweets that we're generating, all the blog posts that you're gonna write about later, or recommendations in the area, or something historical discovered about this building. That kind of stuff. That's the value. The mere presence itself is the basic layer of what enables everything else.